Welcome to Star Wars Timeline. Today is another Friday, which means another episode of The Bad Batch came out. We're now on episode 9 called The Bounty Lost. If you guys didn't have the chance to see my previous reviews, please look in the video description below and I'll drop you all the links to my previous episodes so you could catch up and be up to speed. Now, before I start reviewing this episode, two things. Number one, I tried to avoid any spoilers. I didn't see episode featurette with episode title, so I have no idea what I'm going into. And number two, this will be a full-on spoiler review. Once again, please be warned, this is a spoiler review. I'm going to talk about specific details in the storyline and the characters and so forth. Let's jump into it. So, knowing that this is a serialized show, the only thing I was expecting is, of course, we're going to continue with Cad Bane. In the previous episode, he has captured Omega, and now he's makes a run for it. I didn't know whether the Bad Batch is gonna intercept him or get their hands back on Omega and bring her back to safety. And it was interesting to see that the episode tackled that particular plotline relatively quickly. It didn't dwell on the Bad Batch chasing Omega. So once again, I enjoyed that very compact format per episode. Now, what was the first thing that I found quite striking and interesting in this episode? We all know that Star Wars has a great tradition of having droids, where there's a comedic relief or for any other matter, there always has been a huge pillar of the show. And in here, we meet one of the great droids from the clone era, Cad Bane's little henchman, the Techno-Service droid. It was very fun and quite honestly heartfelt interaction between him and Omega when she's imprisoned in her own little cell behind this energy wall, and she's interacting with a little droid, and we see how Bane discards him. He doesn't treat him like a friend. He's just there to fulfill his duty. And it's a funny thing in Star Wars, but droids have feelings. They're sentient. And Omega, she's already planning and crafting, to get out of her cell. She also relates to the little droid, and I really enjoyed their fun little exchange until, of course, the point where she goes like, click, she puts him out of commission, she warns the audience, oh no, it's only temporarily. So that was pretty cool. Another thing that we learned in this episode, which I enjoyed, and it wasn't obviously the biggest surprise, we knew that she was a clone. Now we know that Boba Fett, Jango's cloned son, was referred to as Alpha. And it kind of makes sense that she is Omega. Alpha is the first letter in the Greek alphabet, Omega is the last one, so it kind of makes sense. She's blood and genetic sister of Boba Fett, and she's the daughter of Jango Fett. Pretty cool stuff. Another thing I really enjoyed was the interaction and deepening conflict within the Kaminoans. While Lama Su has his own agenda of fulfilling his quota to the Empire and keeping that cloning industry going, Nala Se, the female who we saw in the first premiere episode, she seems to really, really care for Omega because we find out that she's the one who hired Fennec Shen. And I found it very enjoyable that there is an emotional connection between the two, but it's not quite revealed why it is so. Because obviously, Nala Se is not the mother of. Maybe she was the custodian. Maybe she was overseeing somehow the project that another clone was made after Jango Fett's specifications. So it was quite cool. Now, let's get to the cool part. Obviously, we have this huge showdown between Cad Bane and Fennec Shand. And what completely blew my mind is, number one, this show keeps throwing different kinds of action sequences at you. We had a chasing scene through a cityscape. We had a Rancor on the loose. And now we have this really cool Wild West gunslinger shootout with a little mix of martial arts. Everybody knows that the actress who portrays Fennec Shen, she's a martial artist in real life. We see a lot of her do her own stunts in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I love her. And here we actually see in animation format, she has this little Wing Chun stances and she does like spinning kicks and stuff. I found that really, really awesome, beautiful, and it makes a visual kind of distinction from the Clone Wars show and others alike. The shootout was absolutely great. I can't get over Cad Bane's awesome kind of like Clint Eastwood slash Levon Clef, kind of like a cowboy outfit. And he has really met his match. Fennec Shand is no pushover. She may be new on the bounty hunter scene, but she's an experienced warrior, and it's really cool to see. And she gave Cad Bane run for his money. Once again, we also find that Omega is a self-reliant girl. You know, we understand that she's young, she needs help, and of course, by the end of the episode, the Bad Batch, the cavalry arrives, you know, and they rescue her. But I really enjoyed that she is self-reliant. She manages to break her cell and escape and get off the ship on her own. And I love to see that. It's something that I wish we saw a little bit more in the Phantom Menace movie, that Anakin was perhaps a little bit older, maybe like a 13 or 14-year-old who's a little bit more self-sufficient. And one more thing I really want to mention in this episode, which brought me back to the old school Star Wars Legends books. A lot of you guys who watch my channel know that I do a lot of reviews of Legends, comic books and books, and I completely love that era. And seeing the planet, which is Bora Vio, where Cad Bane lands to make an exchange for Omega and get his money, immediately, first of all, it's absolutely wonderful locale. It gives you that vibe of the, what's the planet? Bespin. Oh my god, I lost it for a second. It reminds you a lot of the Bespin from the episode 5. And the reason that I'm mentioning it also, in my favorite Star Wars trilogy of books, The Jedi Academy by Kevin J. Anderson, in the first book, Jedi Search, Luke goes back to Bespin, but not to the main city, but another gas refinery that also is like suspended in the air and is like a skeletal structure left behind from earlier days, and it's completely deserted. And over in that place, he finds a potential. He finds a person whose name is Streen, and this elderly guy is like a mechanic. He almost feels like he jumped straight out of the Mad Max movies. Like he's grizzled, you know, and old, and he has like a tan skin because he always works under the sun. And watching this episode today made like a really strange but beautiful visual connection where I'm like, oh my god, the locale they're showing us, this place and the steam or mist floating about, it reminds me a lot from this book that I read years and years ago, which I don't know if it was accidental or intentional, but I'm pretty sure that the Star Wars creators, the showrunners of The Bad Batch, they're looking through the past and previous materials and probably identifying things which kind of connect with them, or they think that the audience will like it, and perhaps they're putting them in the show. Anyway, guys, I thought it was a completely wonderful episode, straight 10 out of 10 for me. What I appreciate about this show so far is that each episode finds its place to tell great story, continue pushing the characters forward and explore them, and put the action where it needs to be. Not every episode is oversaturated with action, but each one sprinkles it. It's almost like a master chef preparing his, you know, dish. And obviously we're going to see the conclusion of it. We're going to get the final taste by the end of the season. But he's so expertly, you know, cooking this dish that every little ingredient is sprinkled just enough, just right. And I absolutely love that. Anyway, my name is Ben. I do Star Wars comic book and book reviews, character highlights, lore videos. I talk about the artists. I have the podcast that I just launched. If you enjoy this content, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate your support. Hit that bell button, and I'll see you next time.